Hello, and today we are doing an FPL preview for game week number 3 and a game week 2 review ahead of this deadline. It has passed now, the deadline, but I'm going to be showing you my game week 2 scores and my game week 3 selections. So if you are here for the live stream, thanks for joining me. I am FPL Yellow Army, also known as Roberto Hollis, and today we're going to get into my game week 2 results. Where did my points affect my rank? It was a very good game week 1, but as a lot of people can relate, it was a very tricky game week 2. So we're going to get straight into things. Obviously, that game week rank of game week 1, 284k, I mean, that was pretty strong. And I thought, yeah, the players I've got, I'm pretty happy with. I went with Mark Gahey in the end. Mark Gahey was an interesting one. I think Gahey, I had him as my little differential. He did the job, got me a clean sheet against Sheffield United. And I was very glad that I benched Matty Cash in the end with him conceding 5 goals against Newcastle. Gabriel, whilst I was at Fest, unfortunately I couldn't have the Wi-Fi to bring him in, take him out and bring in Saliba. And over the first 2 game weeks, that of course cost me 11 points, with Gabriel getting benched and Saliba getting the assist in that first game against Forest and then against Palace. The clean sheet for Arsenal, the bonus points somehow for Saliba. I mean, I guess he does a lot of passing out, but it's just to rub it in our Gabriel owners' faces, really. And then Ben White even got bonus in that Palace game. So it was just every other defender than Gabriel got the bonus points, because yet again, Gabriel was benched against Crystal Palace. And he is a big topic of debate this FPL game week. Did I keep him? Have I got him in my current starting 11? Or have I just sold him to stop the headache? That's what you're going to find out. And the same thing goes for another Brazilian, João Pedro. Started the season really well for me. A budget striker, really. A bit of a cheat code at 5.5. Started the game against Luton, scored a penalty. Lovely jubbly. We absolutely love this guy. And then De Zerbi decides to bench him game week 2 against Wolves. Bit of a killer, because not just did he get benched, but then he did come on, not just for a 1-pointer, but for a 0-pointer, because he got substituted on the last 10 minutes or so, got booked, and then got 0 points, but still stayed, obviously, in my team. So, yeah, ultimately, it was a nightmare. But then there was a bit of a roller coaster with João Pedro, because we had news that in the middle of the week, Julio Enciso, who played brilliantly against Wolves in João Pedro's position in game week 2, picked up a knee injury that was looking a bad one. But there was no kind of time scale of how bad we think it could be, whether or not it would really be one that would help Pedro or not. We weren't sure. So then we were like, okay, well, that's quite good for Pedro. That makes us from thinking Pedro's a problem after game week 2 to thinking, this is good. And then it's gone on another dip where Pedro is now a bit less attractive as an option, because although Enciso's been definitely ruled out, those rumours were true. It is in the press conference that Roberto Zerbi has now said Ferguson starts versus West Ham. So what does that mean for Pedro? Now, of course, it could be fine. I did tweet out about this, that it could just be João Pedro playing as the 10, Ferguson as the 9. That's what he's been playing. That's what he played against Luton, where we had Welbeck starting in that game. So that is what makes sense logically. But what if Roberto De Zerbi is not using his logic here? And although Pedro looked so good against Luton, he could easily just bench him again, because he has talked about Pedro's work rate. So that is a bit of a worry. Pedro is a bit of a raw talent still. As much as he's an absolute star boy and he's destined for amazing things, he is still young. And that's why maybe he's not going to play him every single week. So he is a bit of a headache, but let's see if I've kept him. Ultimately, though, game week 2 was a bit of a stinker. And still happy, though, enough with my score, because a lot of people got low 40s, some even high 30s, which was a shambles, really. But 50 points to me, pretty solid, middle of the road. Not going to complain too much. It did quite well. Good things for my rank. But I've got to mention that tonight's game, Chelsea against Luton, there has been some team leaks. So Chilwell starts against Luton. So that's interesting for those that own Ben Chilwell. And also Nicholas Jackson starts. So he's been a big topic of debate along with Pedro. Should you do Pedro to Jackson? Should you do Watkins to Jackson? I did a thread on Wednesday, and thank you so much, FPL community on X, for your support, because it got something crazy like 10k views. Never thought that would happen, and yeah, it's amazing to see. And yeah, I talked about in that Jackson, I wasn't keen, so I said avoid. But you can understand the appeal with the fixtures coming up, Luton and Forest for Chelsea. But Jackson starts. It's just that Chelsea have not got much creativity in midfield. Maybe Jackson is still a bit of a raw talent, still yet to score. He could do well this week for sure, but I like Ollie Watkins. I think he's steady. I know he did score a hat-trick against Hibernian. Doesn't mean much really when it's Hibernian, but I still feel that even though he got 2 assists from 2 games, a bit disappointing, he just ticks along with goals. And Burnley, I think that's quite a nice fixture. So I think honestly, people selling Watkins to Jackson, I just don't understand that. But we move. Game week 2 was okay. I mean, we went for Onana swapping out after he got me the 9-pointer. I brought in Turner. That was a bit of a shame, really, to see that Sheffield United goal from Hamer. But you know what? It is what it is. No other goalkeeper really scored that much better other than Ramsdale. But, you know, I was never going to own Ramsdale with Arsenal's, you know, triple up a bit better in attack. So, yeah, ultimately, Turner's a bit of a shame. It was his chance to be a hero, and he didn't take it. But we move. It was the right decision with the fixture, and actually it didn't matter because Onana also got 2. Defence though, Rico Henry was transferred in for me, and this was a big shock. I talked about it briefly on my last FPL preview, but I was planning to roll in game week 2 and have 2 free transfers for 3, because then that would give me a bit of flexibility for someone like Ben Chilwell and 2 free transfers. But then I thought, I got cold feet on Matty Cash. I wasn't keen on Cash. I thought, what if he doesn't start regularly? They've got Konza, they've got Diego Carlos, they could play a different back 4. And I know that you had a good fixture against Everton, but I just felt that going forward, Henry would be the one I want to own. And he had a nice fixture away to Fulham. Well, Henry did just as well as Cash did in the end, but unfortunately he did get yellow carded, so he got little less than Cash. But you know what? I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. It's 1 point. And ultimately, going forward, I'm really still happy about that transfer from Cash to Henry. It looks a bit sideways, but actually, if you think about it, Villa with Europa Conference League, and we watched that game against Hibernian, Cash did not play in that. So wonder if he's going to be nailed going forward. But also, with the upcoming game, Burnley's not the easiest defensive fixture. You know, I think they're going to play attacking football. We're going to press. And ultimately, Emi Martinez has got a bit of an injury doubt. We don't know if he'll start or not. He probably will. But if he doesn't, that could be a blow for the Villa defenders for their chances of a clean sheet. And then after that, they got Liverpool. And I just didn't think Cash was that nailed, with possibly, you know, Moreno coming back in soon, Digne doing a bit better, and I wasn't going to go for Digne. So, look, at the end of the day, I think I'm happy with that transfer in the moment, but it did mean I kind of hurt myself for game week 3, but we'll talk about that very quickly. Estupiñán, what a god. Honestly, goal assist, this guy's essential. Just play him every week. I don't care what the fixture is. He's so attacking. And yes, Gabriel, yet again, he got benched, and I started him because everyone thought, yeah, surely he can't get benched again, but he did. So, real pain. But now with Tomiyasu suspended, maybe he starts in game week 3. We'll have to see. Saka, bit of a disappointment. Obviously, didn't take the penalty. Didn't see that coming. But you know what? These things happen. Salah, captain. Look, at the end of the day, we got the win over Haaland, captainers. But it was just a real letdown when I think, you know, 3 goals against Bournemouth. Or, you know, Salah, big haul. This is your moment. This is your time to, you know, come back and get at Haaland as a captain favourite. And of course, Salah is always the number 2 after Haaland, because there's not really any much premiums left in the game that we feel we can captain. But to only get 5 points, to miss the penalty again, yes, he followed in the rebound and got the goal, but it's just, Salah is not as much of the number 1 man for Liverpool anymore. Yes, he's key, and yes, he gets goals, and yes, he gets, you know, 200 points a season, but he's not amazing to captain. He's not essential anymore. He's just nice to have if you've got him. So it's 12.5. It's a lot of money when there's a lot of cheaper midfielders doing better than him. So it's one to think about for game week 3 for sure. Mitoma, my guy, what a massive haul. And yeah, to not own Brian Mbeumo was a bit of a hurting one. You know, he killed my rank, did Mbeumo, but look, Mitoma still did very equally well, and brilliant haul against Wolves. Fernandes, frustrating, booked, had a few chances against Spurs, but unfortunately didn't come off. And Martinelli, again, that Arsenal game was a bit disappointing when you see Ødegaard get the goal, the one that I don't have, and Martinelli was not great in that system that they're playing. He just going far too wide. But with Martinelli, it's good because this game week, Jesus, back in training, looks like he might be in the squad. Whether or not he'll start Jesus, we'll have to see. But that going forward is great for Martinelli, but it's also not great in terms of, although it's good for the link up on the left-hand side, it's also a problem with minutes going forward because you've got Arsenal Champions League coming up as well, and Trossard can play when Jesus is starting. So look, it's a bit of a headache, but it's still an interesting asset. He's got a great fixture against Fulham. It's not time to switch, in my opinion, now. The front two, though, was a bit disappointing, to say the least. I'm glad I didn't captain Haaland, but Joao Pedro, that was just so frustrating to see that benching. But with a nice, fortuitous for FPL managers of Joao Pedro injury to Enciso, and possible it starts that, against West Ham, that Pedro goes for it, but maybe or not. I don't know where he'll start. We'll have to see. But look, at the end of the day, it's a shame. Bench, though, obviously, no one played other than Gurhi and Onana. Mark Gahey, he did, of course, concede, so I was glad I benched him. And Baldock didn't play, Mubama didn't play. So that's my game week 2. Very decent game week, 50 points, as I mentioned. If we just look at my game week history and how that's done for my rank, I mean, it did end in a red arrow, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, what can I do, right? It was just a tough game week for a lot of people. But still a solid score, 50, we take that. And going into Game Week 3, we're hoping for some big things. So talking of Game Week 3, here is the lineup. We've got Onana in goal. Yes, Onana. He's back in after last week's benching because I think Forest are going to concede, and I think Forest are pretty goal shy away from home. I know Awani has scored a lot of goals and he might do, but I think Onana gets a lot of save points and hopefully United will be better this week. Then Chilwell, he is one of my transfers in. Yes, I have taken a -4. That's the breaking news, people, for Game Week 3. Because although I did take one last week and Henry I'm happy with going forward, I did feel that I needed 2 players, Chilwell and Mbumo. Yes, Mbumo is in for Mo Salah and Chilwell is in for, yes, you guessed it, Gabriel. I've had enough of that headache. Now, of course, Pedro's also a headache, as is Gabriel. But look, the way I look at it is, with Enciso out and Gabriel just been benched 2 games in a row, surely that means that he's more of a problem than Pedro. Just 1 game he was benched. And I look at it and think, Gabriel, he's not got much upside unless he gets a goal against Fulham, which to be fair, he has in the past. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Hoping for a Fulham goal to wipe out the clean sheet. But Chilwell, on the other hand, I think he's a must-own after this, run of fixtures. It's just too good to ignore. And I've been hiding behind the sofa. He's in against Luton. Hopefully a clean sheet. Hopefully some attacking returns. Henry against Palace. Palace are quite good defensively, but they're not great going forward, in my opinion. So I think Eze's been a bit wasteful. He has created chances, but hopefully a clean sheet there for Brentford. It's Stupinian. Now, Stupinian, I just think, is brilliant. But even against West Ham, they did look good against Chelsea, but I think they can see chances down that left flank. Then we've got Saka. Saka, my guy, doesn't leave the team. I know his penalties are in doubt, but he's just still the star boy. He's still the main man. Mbeumo against Palace, good fixture, I still feel. I know Palace are defensively quite resolute, but I still feel that a home game is good for Mbeumo. On the back of his form, he's on penalties. Even if he doesn't play well, he can get a penalty late on, and he's just nailed, and it just makes sense. The fixtures coming up as well, not just this week, are really nice for Mbeumo, so it just made us no brainer to bring him in, really. And Salah was just burning too much value in my team. He was just too expensive for the amount he was giving me back. Then Fernandes, Forest, last chance saloon for Bruno. Hope he can haul big time. My team name is based around Bruno this year. Bruno Dos Tres. He needs to deliver now against a nice plum fixture of Forest. If not, he'll be going probably next week. Then Mitoma, West Ham. Look, that's a great fixture. As I said, Mitoma can do it again easily. Martinelli, okay, bit of a headache going forward, obviously, with Champions League. But for this week, I think Martinelli will start. And then Pedro against West Ham. Look, at the end of the day, Pedro, I think he's going to start. That's my prediction anyway. And then Haaland for the captaincy. It's as simple as that. Against Sheffield United, do not overthink the Norwegian meat shield. Then in the bench, we've got Turner, Mark Gay, Baldock, and Mubama. And look, the bench is weak, but it's not that essential. Gurhi, if he needs to come in for Pedro or Martinelli, will do. That's fine. He's nailed. The other 2 spots aren't that important for me. So that's my team locked in for Game Week 3. I hope you have enjoyed. Smash a like on the video. Let me know your transfers you made this season. And let's hope that the legends of Thierry Henry and Netflix and Chilwell and Brian Mbumo. So let's go. A boom boom boomo to get me some FPL points. I hope you have enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.